It was a bitterly cold night in late December. Rain lashed against the streets, and the wind howled through the city, rattling street signs and old windows. Clara Bennett tightened her grip on the steering wheel as her headlights cut through the darkness. In front of her loomed Hawthorne Tower, an old apartment building that had seen better days. Portions of it had been abandoned for decades, but tonight it was hers. She parked her old sedan at the curb. Water pooled in the uneven pavement, soaking the soles of her shoes as she stepped out. The air smelled damp, earthy, and faintly metallic. Sitting near the entrance was Mr. Whitmore, the building's caretaker. He looked ancient, hunched over on a wooden bench, and his gray, lifeless eyes seemed to pierce through her. I'm Clara. I'm renting apartment 12B, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Mr. Whitmore's lips curved into a slow, unnerving smile. It was not a friendly smile. It was cold, deliberate, as if he knew something she didn't. He handed her a set of old brass keys. "Welcome, Miss Bennett. Take care tonight. Some doors should never be opened." Clara swallowed hard and nodded. Her pulse was racing. She turned and made her way up the 12th floor. The corridor lights flickered, casting long, slithering shadows. The walls were faded, with peeling paint and the faint smell of mildew. Every step she took felt heavier than the last. Finally, she reached her apartment. She hesitated before opening the door. Inside, everything was covered in white sheets, and the air felt thick and stagnant. She forced herself to step inside, setting her suitcase down, and poured a glass of wine. Holding a photograph of her grandmother, she whispered, "Look, Grandma, I finally have my own place." At 11:15 p.m., the apartment's landline rang. Clara froze. She hadn't even connected a phone yet. Hesitantly, she lifted the receiver. A low, rasping voice hissed, almost through the walls. "Do not lock the door. We are waiting for you." Clara's heart slammed in her chest. Who is this?" she whispered. Deep, echoing laugh filled the line, as if it were coming from the walls themselves. Then, silence. Her phone buzzed. A notification flashed. Front door unlocked. The door creaked open slowly. Darkness stretched down the corridor like a living thing. Clara bolted to lock it, but heavy knocks began to pound against the door. Someone or something was trying to force it open. Then a folded piece of yellowed paper slid under the door. Written in smudged red ink were the words, "Welcome, Clara. Your night has begun." Terrified, she ran to the elevator and pressed the button for the ground floor. The doors opened and she stepped inside, but the lift wasn't moving. When the doors opened again, she was back in her apartment. Every sheet was in place, the wine glass untouched. Panicked, she tried the stairs. Floor after floor, apartment after apartment, the layout twisted impossibly. No matter where she went, she always ended up at 12B. A whisper floated through the air. "Clara, come to us. The shadows are waiting." The walls began to rot, peeling to reveal human hair, bones, and handprints pressed deep into the plaster. Clara stumbled back, her mind spinning. Under the sofa, she spotted a small leather-bound journal. She opened it and found the diary of Thomas Bennett, her great-grandfather, who had once owned the building. The diary revealed a horrifying truth. In 1923, Thomas had made a pact with a mysterious occultist to ensure the building would stand against time. 10 innocent lives had been sacrificed, their blood sealed into the walls and foundations. But when it came time for the 11th sacrifice, a member of his own family, he hesitated, leaving the deal incomplete. Since then, the building had been waiting, for the final promise to be fulfilled. Clara's breath caught. She understood now. She was the 11th. Mr. Whitmore stepped closer, his gray eyes now glinting with unnatural hunger. "I've waited for this night, for the promise to be completed," he said. The lights flickered and died. A freezing wind swept through the apartment, making the white sheets whip around like ghosts. Clara felt herself being dragged toward the walls, as if the building itself had hands. Midnight struck. Silence fell.
For what felt like hours, she was trapped in that impossible loop of hallways, stairs, and rooms that led nowhere. Then, as her strength was about to give out, she remembered the journal. She clutched it to her chest and read aloud the final line. "The unfinished promise can only be ended by acknowledgement, by truth." Suddenly, a pulse of light shot through the apartment. Clara's body fell to the floor, exhausted but alive. The walls were still, the wind gone. Mr. Whitmore was gone too, vanished without a trace. Years later, I returned to Hawthorne Tower. The building still stood, silent and forbidding. Locals say that on stormy nights you can hear whispers from the walls, faintly calling for the next tenant, waiting for the shadows to finish what they began. Years later, I returned to Hawthorne Tower. The city had grown around it, but the building itself looked unchanged, its windows dark, its stone face weathered and patient. A chain-link fence now surrounded the entrance, bent and rusted, warning signs flopping in the wind. They said it had been condemned after a series of unexplained incidents, tenants who stayed only a night, maintenance workers who refused to go past the 12th floor. One man who swore the walls whispered his name even after he moved 3 states away. No one ever mentioned Clara Bennett. Inside city records, her name appeared only once, listed as a tenant who vacated apartment 12B the same night she moved in. No forwarding address, no next of kin, just a blank space, as if she had stepped out of the world entirely. But I found something else. Tucked inside the lobby's broken mailbox was a small leather-bound journal, its cover cracked with age. Inside, a new entry had been written beneath Thomas Bennett's final words, the ink still dark, still fresh.